So this is basically the first monthly briefing video, and here we'll cover content questions from the rank Oberst Patreons, the poll results, and the answers to regular questions. Yeah, let's look to the content questions. So here we have Spartan, and he wants to know how feasible were multi-turreted tank designs, including sponsor-mounted armament and such. I know in the early days of the war, with the lack of communication, it led to them being discontinued with how hard they were to command. But do you think they could have perhaps been developed in a more successful design? Well, the short answer is no. And let's look at a different design from a tank. Let's look at the Panzer III and then look at a variant of it, the Sturmgeschütz. And if you look here, there's a clear difference between the two. The Sturmgeschütz has more firepower. It has a 75mm gun. It is cheaper to produce. It's smaller in size. And it has less moving parts. But it has no turret, thus it is less flexible with aiming and such. Now, the problem with multi-turreted vehicles in general is that you need a certain benefit for several turrets. For instance, for a B-17, you want to cover every angle of approach. So that makes sense. For ships, it's usually, they need to be seaworthy, so you can't build like really small ships with just a big turret, which is basically a tank is such a vehicle. Another thing with a ship is the size and the weight is not as crucial as for a tank, because if you make a tank bigger, it doesn't fit on the railway cars. It has problems traversing the terrain. It breaks down more easily. You need stronger tracks and track wheels and everything. So physics limit tanks way more than ships. Then every turret is more moving parts, and thus it's more expensive. It's less reliable. It's easier to hit, and the benefits are not there. I mean, one of the benefits of several turrets in one tank could be that you can cover every angle of approach. The thing is, tanks are usually not deployed alone. So other tanks or best infantry should provide close support. So that benefit of multi-turrets is not there for a tank, because you use more tanks. You use packs of tanks, basically, or companies or a platoon. I mean, from the regulation, I think from the German regulation, I think it's explicitly noted that you should never use less than a platoon, or even more, I think. So always several tanks. So another aspect is, of course, you need more crew. You have more armor racks, so chances for explosion are higher. If you have smaller turrets, they can be usually more easily penetrated, because they're usually less armor there. So basically there are so many drawbacks on a multi-turreted tank and almost no benefits that would really tip the tide in any way. Especially if you compare it with an assault gun. Because with an assault gun you can usually put in a bigger gun, it costs less, and you have less moving parts, thus it's more reliable also. Whereas a multi-turreted vehicle is more complicated to maintain, more complicated to produce, more complicated to command, less reliable, also logistically, because usually you have for the T28 and T35 you had, I think, different caliber guns in the turret, so more things can break down. Also the turrets get in the way. They produce shot traps, hits to the turret ring, so you have more crew. It's also more vulnerable. I don't see any benefit in a multi-turreted tank except for covering multiple approaches, but this would probably make more sense, I think, with a tank that's less limited to terrain. It could work, for instance, for a hover tank or something, a tank basically that's flying. In that way it could make sense, but for a regular tracked tank or a wheel tank, I don't see any benefits, because just produce another one and you will be better off in the long run. So both on the tactical and on the production level and logistical level, I don't see any benefits in multi-turreted tanks. And I think this is the reason why we didn't saw any more after the first few. So I hope this answered your question, and let's move to the results of the poll. And here we have them. I'm not quite happy. You see, I voted World War I here, but the problem was I voted and I couldn't unvote. And then I moved my vote to World War I because it had no points. This is just to get my vote out of your results. So World War II with contemporary, which means 2000 to 2017 or even beyond, Prussia under Frederick the Great, and Cold War I. So in the future, I will aim that we have at maximum 2 winners. So I will probably make then a second poll so that you can decide which of the, if we have like a situation like this. But for this month, for October, I will aim for providing 1 video for World War II, 1 for contemporary stuff, 1 for Prussia under Frederick the Great, which is already finished and should come out Friday. Although I don't know when this video will show up, so maybe you probably seen it. And I'm right now working on a Cold War video. So, thanks for everyone for voting and also supporting me. And next are the Q&A of rank Feldwebel. These are basically questions that I can answer without doing any research. So, basically personal questions or questions about the channel. So let's get started. The first one is from Andrew Gianelli. I hope I got it right. Have you ever been to the United States or plan to do so in the future? If so, where in the States? I was in the United States in 1999 and it was in Florida. I was in Miami, I was in Orlando, I think I was in the Everglades. Yeah, I was in the Everglades. And, well, pretty hot, pretty interesting. And I read from Caesar the Gallic War. We had quite some fun, but it was still, I was 19 back then, and I wasn't traveling alone, so it wasn't the usual thing. It was basically with a friend and his parts of his family, and this was before my, what I call my traveling time or my independent time. So in a way, I wouldn't say I really visited the United States, because if I visit something, I do something else. Although I actually ran around in Miami searching for, I think, a bar called Roses. Somebody told me it's a heavy metal bar or something. And I think actually a policeman or somebody told me that I'm in a quite dangerous area and that I should leave or something. Yeah, well. So the next question is from David. Any more plans for videos about Rommel or any other World War II generals, field marshals? Actually, the first video about a person should have been Guderian, but I don't know, Rommel dropped in. So this is always the thing. My content is, everything is very regulated except my videos. Sometimes I just, okay, an idea drops or I got the right book or read something and then I start writing a script, or sometimes I just focus on something. So Guderian is very likely. Curtis LeMay is also very likely because I'm very interested in him, but it could be somebody else too. I think I have some stuff on John Paul Jones. Of course, yeah, that's not a World War II guy. And probably also something about Montgomery at some point, because I think I already started to take notes why it could be that he's disliked so much. And yes, so in a way, it's likely to happen. And probably similar to the Rommel stuff, more on like focusing on one particular question while covering certain parts of his biography. So the next question is from Danilo. Can you talk about the plans of the Italian Navy, in particular the X-MAS, probably is pronounced completely different, to attack the New York harbor? I actually didn't know about this. I mean, I know about that the Italian Navy had a quite good commando unit. About the attack on New York harbor, I need to look into this, but this sounds really interesting, so it's rather likely to happen. Good chances for that, but this doesn't mean it will happen soon. Well, next question, Christopher Cologne. With so many World War II documentaries, what aspect of the Second World War is relatively ignored, not well studied, that you think deserves more attention from academics and or media? So the thing is, as mentioned once, I don't watch World War II documentaries or generally almost no documentaries. I would say they should give more attention to the whole picture, and this is now for media, not for academics, and stop the hyperboling and the one factor explanation, the monocausalic explanations, like this was so important and this, like, yeah, lately I don't know if it's part of a documentary or something that people just came up, yeah, the Germans were all on math, this is why they were so successful. And then I can say, well, you know, if you put people on math, you know what happens? Not very much. They don't invade successfully France because you need discipline, you need training, you need logistics, you need tactics, you need coordination, you need everything. So math probably had an influence. I need to read up how much it was, but it's not all. And this is my main problem usually with the media and documentaries. They focus on one thing and basically ignore everything else. Of course, it depends. So I would say they basically should change a little bit of their approach. And is there something which should get more focus? Yeah, well, I think they should focus more on some basics, on military history basics and basic understandings, and less on secret weapons and other actually more minuscule stuff often. I hope this answered your question. And for academics, I think they cover pretty much everything. I'm not sure if I'm missing something. So next question, G of Ghana, delete if answered, but what YouTube video do you consider to have got your channel off the ground? An example from 50 subs to 1,000. Well, in this case, basically it is the first video, my German tank production video. And I think I made 100 subs in one day or something. And it was for a long time my best converting video and got the most views for a long time. And I think I reached 1,000 subscribers in 6 weeks. So, and then of course there was another video which was the Bren versus Spandau video answer, which basically led to the first explosion of my channel, I would say, or a second explosion, but a major. And it basically also happened while I was relocating on the same day from Hamburg to Austria. And I think I came and watched, oh, I got so many views and so many more subscribers. So this is also the reason why you can see the crossed brand with the MG42, because I consider to a certain degree my unofficial logo of the channel. This is, I think I have it on my channel t-shirt, I have it on my channel art, I put it up regularly. So because this was really important, I'm very glad that Lindy Beige mentioned me. So yeah, these two videos were very important, and there were many others, but basically I think this video, the Brand versus Spandau video answer, was that one that paved the way for going professional or full-time. And then, yeah, probably to the same time I did the blunders of Barbarossa. So it was, I think, on the 22nd of June, around that time, of course. I think it was 24th. And then my second video also exploded to the same time. So this was in combination with the Bram vs. Spandau video, which was at the end of May, I think, 2016, that it got mentioned by Lindy Beige. These three basically paved the way for going professional. So I hope this answered your question quite extensively. So the next one is from Ecstasis. MHV, do you have a primary goal for your channel in the long term? In other words, what are your main positive effects you would like to have upon your YouTube audience over the course of your career as a content creator? For example, would you say you primarily want to educate your audience so they are better able to understand the world and its history, or is your primary goal to entertain or to teach critical thinking skills, or some combination of these outcomes? Thank you for excellent content. You have my gratitude. Thank you very much for the question. This is quite complicated because it basically comes down to several values. For me, education is a very important value. So I want to educate people, and I see myself as an information provider. I love information, I suck information in, and then I try to make it as digestible for a selected audience. This could be one person, this could be many. And then the other thing is, I want to reach as much people as possible. Now here's the problem. Basically, a friend of mine who is a historian in Germany, he said something very negative about a German tabloid paper, which I completely understand, because he said basically they don't care and they just write crap. And for me, I see this, and I see this to a certain degree as a challenge. So how can I reach a larger audience, yet still maintain my main values, that I provide high quality content that's well researched? So, because, you know, clickbait usually works. So, but I don't want to do clickbait. But if I don't have very interesting topics or very interesting titles, people watch other stuff which is sometimes badly researched or just other bullshit. Probably one of the worst examples is that somebody who obviously didn't study history and then quotes Adolf Hitler one-on-one and presents this as a fact. This is quite disturbing, especially if the person collects a lot of views. This is one of my major conflicts I ran into. Also, the same thing is then there's my, let's say, my personal vision, what I want to do. But then there's also the, let's say, the adult part of responsibility. I also need to make money. So he also comes in, I need more views to a certain degree. I'm trying now going, which seems to work out, and thanks to you also, going more in the Patreon route, so that I can care less about some titles or some certain topics. For instance, my hip firing video with the MG34 was very successful, but I don't consider it particularly important. For me, the Great Purge video has way less views, well, I think about the half. I spent way more time in it, I think it's way better, and it's way more important. And many other videos too. So this is always the kind of value battle I have, or value conflict, not battle. For what do I go? Because the thing is, with my hip firing video, I probably got also some people that I couldn't have got otherwise, subscribers that will watch now my other videos, my Great Purge video, for instance. So this is always this juggling and aligning. So the primary goal of my channel in the long term, so in a way, is basically it's a combination of provide high quality content, which means using mainly academic sources or stuff that makes sense if I use primary sources, and clearly state what is in the boundaries of this was very likely or this was very unlikely or something. So I'm always not say, okay, this actually happened and we don't have really proof or something, and make it approachable for a large audience without dumbing it down. And also to have a sustainable business around this, because else I can't continue it. This is the thing. So for me, the business part is to a certain degree, it's fun to make money, but to a certain degree, it's also a huge burden, and I actually don't want to care about money. I just want to do my stuff and don't think too much about money. So it gets in a way. In this way, I'm a rather simpleton. I just want to produce content and don't care about money. But I didn't reach that level yet. So yeah, I'm ready your question again a little bit. Yeah, education and entertainment. This is also one of the value conflicts to a certain degree. For me, education or information is entertainment. For me, I don't read fiction. I watch fiction or I play fiction, but I usually don't read it, because for me, gathering information is entertainment in itself. But I know it's not for everyone. I don't put a heavy emphasis on putting jokes in my videos, because there are some videos there are no jokes, and in some videos I explicitly didn't use them. For instance, I think the nuking Japanese beaches and also Operation Olympic, those two, because the content and the circumstances should portray more in the style, the gravity of everything there. Whereas in other videos, I have a more joking attitude, and sometimes jokes just don't create themselves. Basically, I know there are some people who just don't want information, but they're not gonna watch my videos, and no matter how many jokes I put in there, they probably won't watch it. And if they would probably only remember the jokes. So my primary goal, I would say, is educate in this way. And by educating, entertaining people. So and teaching critical thinking skills right now, not on this channel, I think, because there's no heavy emphasis on this. Because teaching critical thinking skills would be maybe more on the methodological side. And so well, I hope this answered your question in a very long way. Okay, then thanks to your support. A big thank you to all my patrons for your support. And to everyone else, thank you for watching and see you next time.